Good evening, everybody. Anyhow, like we always start out one of our shows, want to talk a little bit about USARC. Hopefully, everybody that's watching is a member or going to be a member or is donating or doing whatever they can to spread the word to get as much help for USARC as as we can, because once again, they're the only ones that are fighting for us. That being said, tonight, Chip and I, man, we're just going to talk about retic stuff, share our opinions on things that we see, and just topics that we talk about, and uh, everybody that's coming on to watch, go ahead, ask questions, um, you know, let's have a good time. Um, so, you want me to start out,
Yeah,
or you want to? Okay, so I want to touch on something like this. These are just my opinions, okay, people. Um, and if y'all don't understand or don't get it, people can actually have different opinions about shit. Um, but anyhow, um, I want to talk about or start out talking about some pure localities that we have here in the United States. Um, on the most part, I mean, there's several localities, but there's a lot of localities that are pretty rare. And the reason why I say rare is just the simple fact that we cannot get any more, can't get any new bloodlines of those localities here in the United States legally. That is. So if we're not getting anything, over here smuggled in or whatever the case may be, or get laws changed and whatnot, basically the bloodlines that we have is what we have. Uh, in the pure localities that we have here in the United States, speaking of like the Sulas, Malaysians, Sumatrans, whatever, any pure locality animals that we have, uh, I think my opinion of it, the whole thing, when I say rare, is because, God, I'm repeating myself so much, we can't get any new bloodlines. This is what we have. So at the end of the day, if you own any of these localities, they're your animals. You can do whatever you want to. Um, I don't have any real issues about people crossing this or that or whatever, because it is what it is. People are going to do whatever they want to do anyhow. But all that being said, if we do that, then what are we doing to maintain these pure localities? There are some localities out there that are out here uh, that are unrelated. Not a whole lot, but we have some. And it's important that I think it's important um, that we do whatever we can to keep these bloodlines going. Because until we can, once again, until we can get more animals here in the states, this is what the fuck we got. And you know, I'm not making fun of anybody or trying to talk shit about anybody, but somebody, I'm sure some of y'all will watch this and be like, they're talking about me, blah blah blah, whatever, and you get your feelings hurt. That's not what this is about, none at all. But if you get in your feelings and whatnot, well, maybe there's a reason. Okay, so whatever. Fuck you if you can't take a joke. But say, for instance, like say the whole Sula projects that we have here in the United States. There's not many of us that have, I think, pure Sulas. Um, it seems like some people think there's more Sulas here in the United States than than what we think, and that maybe that's a fact. I don't know. Um, I don't know that there's that many. I don't think there's that many. So talking about pricing and whatnot, if we people that own these localities, and it doesn't even have to be a Sula locality. It can be other localities. If we breed them and we make more pure blood, F1s, F2s, whatever the case may be. Some people kind of laugh about how much they're worth money wise. And you know, at the end of the day, when it's your animal, and if you do breed, and if you do have plans on selling these animals or whatever, I mean, you can put whatever price you want on them. That's your business. But you know, I think a lot of these animals and a lot of these bloodlines are very precious. And once again, just my opinion about stuff. And my opinion is, I think that the people that own these certain localities, we should, if we do breed them, we should be very particular about who else might get some. You know, they get babies and whatnot. You know, and putting a high price tag on them. I mean, I think they're worth the high price tag, but that kind of weeds out some of the people. You know what I mean? Because not everybody's going to be able to afford X amount for an animal. I don't know. I don't know. What's your perspective? What's your thoughts on this?
Most of the Retic community are fuck dummies.
Well, there you go.
The fact of the matter is, I don't care what genetic mutation inbred bullshit on any of the localities, period. I don't care if you're calling dwarf, super dwarf, mainland, whatever. You cannot tell me that your 9-gene retic is worth more than something that is increasingly disappearing every year. Your localities and your pure blood and not your inbred screw ups are 10 times rarer than any more genetic mutation out there right now, period. Because there's multiples. I don't care, no offense to anybody, because I think they're cool, but the Ocelot Project or your Blue Hypo Project, which are the newest and last of the genetic morphs out there, there's still more of them out there combined than there are of certain pure localities. And people have lost the love and respect for your pure animals. Everybody takes everything for granted. They think it's just a normal. They think it's just this, it's just that. It's hilarious to me that they want to not put that price tag on it, but they'll put a price tag on a genetic freak that came out that can be made multiple different times. Just because it's a one-off now doesn't mean anything. It's still, there's no genetic potential there. There's no anything. But you put a high price tag on it because it's a one-off that somebody else could make, and maybe it's a little different. Paradoxing or chimeras or whatever. You go to the ball python pages, there's chimeras everywhere. People pop out paradoxes every day, it seems like, with retics in some way, shape, or form. But you're not going to find pure localities. And then when people do have them, they want to mix them in with other stuff to make the bloodlines right. Well, it's been 20 years since everything's been mixed. Everything's pretty much becoming genetically bottlenecked now. And you're going to take your pure locality and either inbreed it or cross it out and ruin the chances. Your pure locality, any animal on the planet, I don't care what it is so taxing for reproduction. It is very hard on the animal. And if you're constantly reproducing or outcrossing to do this, that, and the other thing, because you see other people, you're screwing everything up. So when a genetically pure locality comes around, it should have an extremely high price tag. because it does weed out people. The person that's going to fork over that type of money is going to want the perfect care for it. Is going to want to interact with it. Is going to know that it is a rare animal and actually respect it more. All these other breeders are just breeding for breeding's sake, and they want to get likes on Facebook, and they don't care the consequences. They don't think about this. They just are like, oh, I can make this. Morph Market says that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And people eat it up. They don't think about consequences. So when these people get their hands on a locality of any sort, they have no respect for it whatsoever. They want to talk a good game, but they really don't, because they're going to want to breed it immediately. They're going to want to make babies immediately. And then what? Then you're going to have to outcross it, or you're going to try and backbreed it to mom or dad, or vice versa, or brother and sister. And, oh, that's okay. But genetics of any type of animal will tell you that's a good way to shorten a lifespan, have genetic abnormalities. And, oh, you can say all day long, no, but I made many clutches. All my snakes are happy and healthy. How many 20-year-old retics are out there? How do you know that? How do you know that? You're screwing up everything. You have to be responsible with these animals. And nobody is. Nobody is realizing this. They're thinking short term, and they're not thinking about the animals. Once these genetics are gone, they're gone. The U.S. is not getting any more. So it's not a fucking great plan to just start immediately breeding these locality animals. Just let's do it. We got to get this population back up. They got to be everywhere. That's not responsible, logical breeding. And unless you have a shit ton of animals that have come from wild-caught bloodlines that are unrelated whatsoever, you're gonna bottleneck. At 1, 2, 3 seasons, you're done. Because you're gonna kill your animal. You keep breeding it every year. It's not gonna live its full potential. And then you've got no other bloodlines to go back to it, so you're going to start inbreeding the babies. That's going to cause the shortened lifespans and bottlenecking everything. But people don't want to hear that. They think everything's a good idea because nobody gets genetics. They get morphs. They get morphology, as I call it. You put this to this to this, you get this. You don't think about the consequences of certain mutations.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some people that are going to be like, "Oh, Chip's a dick." Well, Chip is a dick, but let's not talk about that. I don't know, man. I like morphs. I really do. I mean,
I own morphs.
They're beautiful, but there's something about just a pure reticulated python. A pure, wild-caught, natural, beautiful, reticulated python. Certain localities look different from others. Everything's a certain, everything is a perspective. But some localities look better than others, and this and that, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that like we keep repeating, legally, we're not going to get any more of these animals. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to just fuck them all away? Just breed them? And I'm just talking about certain localities. We're just gonna breed them into other shit, and then after a couple generations or whatever, the fucking locality is gone.
It's literally the situation that we ran into. When morphs started becoming big and everybody was making morphs, everybody started putting their localities into everything, and all the localities started disappearing. And then we got Jamp blood, Sula blood, all this other crap. And it's like, no, you literally are defeating the purpose. You're killing off the localities just by doing that stuff, basically. But you getting your marks, you're getting your money makers because people buy into that shit. Why is it that someone wants a snake that's got this blood in it or that blood in it, but they don't own one of that a pure?
So somebody can answer that? Anybody? There's what? There's only a couple people in the whole United States that there's a couple people that own literally all the wild caught Sulas that are left in the United States. Did y'all just hear what I said? Do you understand what I'm saying? So what are you gonna do? Everybody loves this. I love Sulas. I do. I love the pattern. I love everything about them. That's one of the first things that I ever saw when it came to retics, and it just blew my mind. And like I said, there's a couple people that actually have true wild caught Sulas, and that's it. That's it. I have a pair of F1s from my wild caughts that Blake and Jen have or had, and now they're in my snake building that we made years ago. So everything like Sula wise that I have are F1s or F2s. I don't have any true wild caught ones.
I'll let you go back, but I really want to answer Chris's question here real quick because he looks pretty. He got bold letters here, and I'm gonna comment on it. And Chris might not like me anymore, and that's his prerogative. I've got nothing against Chris, but the honest answer is, yeah, if you can't find another different pure Sula or Solaire, or if you can't find someone with a wild caught or an F1 that's unrelated to yours, I would breed. The point is if you sell the babies, it's fine. Don't overbreed it. But you breed back, it's inbreeding. And any animal, it shortens lifespan. It has the defects that might not be visible to you, but it's there. The gene splicing and crossing and everything else that happens in every animal, and that's been proven. So, do you have to breed it? You don't. If you want to make some more pures, that's great. But that's the mentality that I think is absolutely crazy. Is you don't have to breed everything. Enjoy your Solaires until death, but if you breed back to inbreed and you're trying to make a point to me, you're just saying, I'm going to breed it regardless. So why not outcross it? You don't have to breed it. That's my point. It's at what point do you gain anything from that to stress out an animal consistently? Because breeding is extremely taxing. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw his next comment. Yeah, Chris, and that's the whole thing. They are all related, but I'm not pointing at you per se. But you got people that are going to use that excuse, but then will go spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a morph because they wanted it. But if they're so concerned about having an animal that is not related for not inbreeding, because that excuse, there's people with wild caught or F1s that aren't going to be related to their animal, and they can go buy that animal. Put an F1 that's not related back to your wild caught or your F1 that's not related works. the genetics work there. But people don't want to do that. They'll spend $5,000 on a morph, but they won't spend $5,000 for pure blood locality that's not going to be inbred to make more pures that are unrelated, so the generations can go on. They're here. It's people don't want to spend the money. They want the 19 or early 2000s normal $250 price of wild caught imports.
Who wouldn't? But this is 2022. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And then with all the laws that are being passed and everything, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm stuttering and shit because it's hard. It's hard to sometimes it's hard for me to get the shit that I'm thinking about out. You know, but you know, these pure animals that are left, I think it's like it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't make sense to me that a crossed animal is or people think that they're worth more. You know what I mean? Like to me, it doesn't make any sense. You know?
No, and that's what boggles my mind, because you got these people that have a large following want to act like they're all concerned and everything else when they're really not. They're pissing their money away. They won't buy caging that's needed. They won't interact with their animals. They'll spend money on bullshit to get a Facebook like. They'll scream from the rooftops about their breedings or how many retics they have, which they'll never find the proper homes for. But they won't take the time to find the people that have unrelated animals still left in the U.S. and either buy or do a breeding loan partnership with them to keep the blood going. And that goes for across the board, whether it's dwarfs or mainlands or whatever. I personally know where the localities I keep, 90% of the other ones are in this country, and which ones are related and which ones aren't. Because if you do your due diligence and you don't piss people off and you don't look like a jackass on the internet with your animals, you can make it happen. And you can also spend the money instead of buying the new morph, because you want to look cool for an overbred, inbred animal that's probably not going to live to its full potential, but you have no respect for where these animals came from.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. And also what I find, I don't know if it's hypocritical. Yeah, I guess it would be hypocritical. There's many keepers that say certain things, and they say these things. I always talk about how, like, there's this reticulated python book on what it's a guide on how you're supposed to be politically correct on, and this is what you're supposed to say if you're in front of people, and this is what you say when you're on social media and everything, and they say certain things, and people who don't know better, they just eat it up, and this person or that person over there, they really are about these animals, this and that and everything, and in all reality they're not. They're not. And my whole thing about it is, like, you have animals and you want to breed them and sell them, do it. Do what you do. Nobody cares. That's your business. Do it. But why not just be upfront with what the fuck you're doing?
I'll call them out because I don't give a shit. There's too many people that sit in this industry.
That's the problem right there. So if you're outspoken, if you are blunt, then you're an asshole. Oh, if you have a different opinion, but see, you have to put on a fake smile, and you have to talk all nice and sweet and shit, and make people feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I don't know. I don't want that fake shit, because you don't mean that smile. That's not a real smile. Everything that you're saying to me that makes me feel good is a fucking lie. You know, people need to. You know what I mean? Like fucking.
I still hear to this day. I'm not talking about the big free breeders. I'm talking about Facebook, social media, famous retic breeders. I still hear that these motherfuckers spew nonsense that if people would actually look into it, would know that it's complete horseshit about sizes of localities, genetics of localities, ranges of localities, horseshit all the way across the board, or how to handle them, or do whatever. And people eat it up because they have such a presence and they think they can do no wrong. I mean, I've heard consistent bullshit. I mean, and I've talked about this in probably 5 other videos about the Sula locality. They're not the end all be all largest locality for retic. Almost all localities have the potential to hit that 25-foot mark. We've never seen it. 23 foot 4.5 is 4.5 is pretty much what we've verified as the largest ever. Could there be out there? Absolutely. Are there pictures that are suspect? Absolutely. I actually personally know of some in collections that are probably bigger than that. But the people don't care. But when your selling point is these animals are monsters, these animals get huge, it's got Sula blood. That's the same thing as if I bred a bunch of morphs and go, mine's 65%, 75% Sumatra or Bali or whatever. It's a worthless number. You have no idea what kind of Sulas were back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that were mixed in with morphs. It's just like the whole tiger thing. The tiger gene is the big gene. No, it's not. The old man tiger was a male that lived to be about 25, 26 years old and died at a little over 12 foot long. Was bred to some massive import females, though, of unknown locality. But they weren't Sulas because I've seen pictures of them. But, the genetics of retics are not locality specific. You could have a selector. We proved that with Jampea. I mean, there's been Jampeas around this country, not to mention Europe and in Indonesia, that have hit the 18, 19 foot mark. There's always going to be genetic potential in every range that they have. Are you going to get animals on Sula that only going to get 10 to 12 foot long? Absolutely. Are you going to get ones that hit 20? Absolutely. But the same applies to every locality. And when you label the horse shit and you don't know anything about genetics or how these animals are, because all you've done has been programmed by Facebook and United States retic keepers projections. Take a little time and research Indonesia. 27,000 islands between the Philippines and Indonesia. You think that all the localities we have in the United States are the only ones? They have a big freaking range. And they get big on small islands. They get small on big islands. They get small on mainland islands. And the breedings aren't done correctly here in the States. Because everybody's been programmed for this crap. Nobody wants to do research. Nobody wants to hear natural climate and habitat. So we all got to breed into everything.
Google is fucking amazing. It's amazing how much information. They even got pictures and shit on Google.
Why is it when Indonesian people post their retics that they catch, There's assholes in America that will belittle them, tell them they're not handling it right, telling them they're not keeping it right, telling them what the hell they have. That's like someone from England bitching about my garter snakes and telling me what I have. Literally. You have no idea how capable these animals are and how the storybook bullshit that you hear in these groups and these retic keepers and breeders spew to you. Retics are hardy. Yeah, you can keep them in a 6-foot cage, 18-foot long. Feed them. They'll eat. They'll breed. They'll lay eggs. They'll go through the motions. You're not going to keep them for their full lifespan. You're not gonna have a health or perfect health through their entire life. You know, or people that are absolutely scared of their animals and just breed them and pull eggs. These are these has been proven for years. They are one of the smartest reptiles out there. And these people are projecting how awesome of a breeder they are, but yet they're scared to handle their animals. I can't hear you anymore, James. You're on mute. Unmute your thing.
I don't know why that happened. Anyhow, what the hell was I going to say? Talking about breeding and whatnot, and you're talking about like how hardy they are and all this other stuff. It's really not that hard to breed a reticulated python.
I believe they're easier than ball pythons.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for letting me know that. But I'm just saying that because you can just have like just a little bit of knowledge and breed these animals, and that why do you think you're so fucking awesome? It really doesn't take that much.
It literally doesn't. They are. This is why most people shouldn't have them, because they are so easy to do everything with. They are a great thing. Properly keep them, then work on it. I'm literally baffled when people are asking questions, because retics literally tell you when they want to breed, when they want to eat, when they want to go poop in a place. I mean, they're telling you right when they're about to lay eggs. They're doing everything. You don't have to know what you're doing, and you can breed a retic. I mean, I have trouble with ball pythons. I tried ball pythons for years, and even with someone who is literally a ball python breeder, very respected, on the phone telling me what to do, I couldn't get them to do anything. I don't have to do anything, but I have so many unbred retics here. People would shit their pants, especially breeders, being like, that's a waste. It's not. They're easy to breed. It's not hard, but I don't feel that I need to breed 40 retics. I don't need to have a couple hundred eggs, because there's no homes for them. There really isn't. And if I have an accidental breeding, because I put a male in there, or if I'm cohabbing and the males, I'll probably throw the eggs away. And the only thing that I'm going to do is preserve localities in a responsible way. It's ridiculous that people freaking have to breed all the time.
And I agree too, but they can do whatever the fuck they want to. It's just the hypocrisy
Yep, that's
that
the thing.
that gets to me. You know what I mean? Like, don't getting on social media and or at shows, and you hear some of these people talk, and it's like, you know, and then you actually know what they're about. It's like, what the fuck, man? Just I can respect you a lot more if you're just honest about what the fuck you're doing. You know, but it is what it is. Whatever. Only thing I will say about the whole breeding and stuff like that. Anybody who's ever dealt with true wild caught animals, sometimes they can be a little strange just because they're wild caught, and you get them and you put them in a cage and everything. Sometimes they won't eat. Sometimes they have to do certain things, but besides that, touching on I guess to say something about that right there. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of fucking wild caught animals here in the United States anyhow. So all these badass breeders, the fuck you don't have a clue because you've never dealt with that shit.
Answer me this, James. Why is it I can go inside my cage, my full body inside my wild caught male's cage, even during breeding season, and nothing happens?
Well, you really want me to tell everybody? No, but I mean, for one, I know for a fact because 9 times out of 10 when I'm talking to you, you're in your fucking snake rooms. 9 times out of 10, you pay attention to your animals. You interact with your animals daily, and you don't even have to do that daily to learn your animals and know your animals' behavior. But you're able to do that because of what you do, and you pay attention. And literally that's all you have to do.
These animals literally talk to you in their own way. They tell you if they're having a bad day. They tell you if they're hungry. They're telling you if they want to breathe. They're telling you if their cage isn't clean enough. They tell you everything, but people don't pay attention and they don't treat them like pets. If you treat 99% of these assholes out here, if they treated their dog like they treat their retics, people would lock them up.
It goes from, I mean, I don't know. I think it goes from having a true fascination about these animals, and even having a real passion, love for these animals, to I don't know where that goes. You know what I mean? Like, is it because they have too many? It's too much it's just too much to handle. So the passion goes away, but you're still gonna fucking breed them, because you get some money out of it. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if I think some of them are scared of their animals.
Oh, I fully believe that because they won't take the time. I don't get what the difference is. And if you have a puppy and it's biting you constantly when it's young, sometimes that puppy can draw blood. If you've got a big breed, I'm not talking about your Chihuahua. Let's say you've got a big breed puppy, and that puppy's bouncing all over the place. It's not trained yet. It's pissing everywhere. It's pooping everywhere. It's biting at you. It's tearing up your shit. You don't sit there and ignore the dog or stick it in a kennel 24/7. You're trying to work with it, teach it, train it, get it used to you, get it used to the environment, and making it a great dog. But there's people that'll get snakes that are 5-7 foot long, and they get a bite because they did something wrong, and then they're terrified of it. They won't work with it, but they'll breed it. It'll never touch human hands again because they're moving it around with hooks. They're throwing it in a cage. They're throwing it in a tub, and it's a breeder. That's what they say. It's a breeder. That's my breeder.
Once again, the people that are going to watch this and get offended and shit, this is the shit that we see and we hear and stuff, and this is just how we feel about things. It's our opinion. Some of it might be facts, by all means, but this is opinions and stuff. Do you go into your snake room and be scared of your animals? Be happy. You know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. So I just want to, once again, let everybody know this is just opinions and shit. We're not trying to, even though it may come across like we're attacking people or something like that. Nah, we're not. I'm not. Yeah. They're still going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do.
And that's the problem. I want new people to realize right and wrong.
Well, that's the whole thing about it.
I care less. The breeders that are being shitbags, they're always going to be shitbags, and they've proven themselves over and over again. But people eat up their shit because they make something new and fancy. And I want people that are really getting new to this and are following these people to open their eyes up. Yes, this has to do with locality. Yes, that has to do with everything else. But it's really sad that people will look up to this shit and get the wrong thing. That most people our age will get this. The newer generation won't. But there used to be a show called Reading Rainbow, and the host's name was LeVar Burton. And he, at the end of Reading Rainbow, after going through all these interesting books, he would open up a book after every show, and he would tell you why he thought this book was interesting. And then he would close the book, and he would go, but you don't have to take my word for it. Go check it out. And that's my point. It is so easy to stop being a sheep, following blindly to things that you think your heroes or your professional breeders are recommending you. Everybody has the world at their fingertips, can go do proper research. Everybody's got different climates all over the U.S. You have dry, you have wet, you have cold, you have over hot, everything else. And I get this. Barometric pressure plays a large part of it. But whether you have one cage or a whole room, you can adjust everything to perfectly fit what that animal needs. And you don't have to get your vision cage, your herp stat, your certain type of paper bedding, your certain type of cocoa blocks, your certain type of water bowl. And you must have a 90-degree hot spot with an 85-degree cage temperature. And all this other bullshit that's constantly spewed, because once you realize how they actually live, you're going to be like, why in the hell am I keeping it this way? Why am I doing it like this? And the fact is they're going to live. Back to my point, they're hardy animals. They're going to live, but they don't have voices. So they're going to live until their body finally can't handle it anymore and they die. And it could take a few years, but they're going to die.
I just want to touch on something that you said, because I honestly agree with you 100%. So the newer people that are in, and when I mean newer people, I mean anybody who's been in it anywhere from, say, 5 years to newer. I consider that new people. Or my opinion of it. But what you just said, and the thing about it is that, like, for you see a lot of stupid shit and it blows your mind. So we talk about it all the time, right? A lot of newer people get on your last fucking nerve because of who they follow, this and that, and everything. But exactly what you just said, it's, if they're willing to learn, if they're willing to take advice and everything like that, then it's up to people like me, you, Chris, other people that have true passions, for these animals and stuff, to try to help them along, especially if they have a true passion. I just want to get that out there and say that. All right, I'm just saying, they have to, by all means, they have to want to put in the work and everything.
Yeah, you're not going to change everybody, but at what point? You can go on King Snake, you can go on Wharf Market, you can do whatever, and there's thousands of retics for sale. There is literally anybody can go on there, and there is so much bullshit with people saying, "Oh, I screen my people." No, you don't. No, you don't. Because why are all these people? And if you like more, great. Keep it. You don't have to breed it. If you enjoy certain animals, breeding is fun, but there is a responsibility to breeding that is not taken into consideration anymore. It's just like, and I'm quoting movies because people seem to get this in stupid quotes instead of me rambling on with science shit. Jurassic Park 1, your scientists were so busy, or your breeders were so busy figuring out that they never thought if they should. How many people do you see post all the time? They've bred this, that, and the other. But you can go to Morph Market, and you can find 100 of those animals. And then their response is going to be, but mine's quality. How is yours quality? How is yours any different? I'm sorry, but with the bottleneck genetics that are out there right now, I don't see a difference. I still have more to go, but what Chris say? Oh, yeah. There is no more accountability on these animals anymore because people are so eager to breed. They want to be just like who they see breed. So many asinine breedings are taking place. And I mean, just to name one, we all know black-eyed leucistics die. The leucism gene is weak. But yet you have someone that has a big channel that bred them thinking they can change the outcome when even the biggest breeder couldn't even change that outcome. Even the person who tried to prove out the black-eyed leucistic with multiple different breedings couldn't change that. And that happened years before this person said they could do it. So you're going to put stress on an animal, make black-eyed leucistics, and then tell people that you're going to have a different outcome. And then they start saying, oh, well, they're this size. And they sell this expensive-ass animal to people, and those animals all are dead. And these are people that have a huge following. And the reason they were able to sell this is because they peddled their bullshit because they don't know any better. And it's disgusting what this is going on with all these animals that are getting bred, frivolous, getting bred like shit. Sorry. And
what does it take to be the nation's number?
Nobody is getting held accountable. Nobody. And following genetics is very, very important when it comes to breeding animals. And when we're talking about reticulated pythons that are laying, 10 to 60 eggs, you got a lot of babies there. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do you even have an incubator set up? Do you have a baby rack set up? Do you have enough food supply? Do you have a contingency plan if they don't sell? Most of the time, your favorite breeders that you follow starve the shit out of the babies, stunt them, they end up dying, or they wholesale them out for someone else to sell, or they freaking just sell them to anybody just to make a quick buck because they've already spent too much money taking care of them. This is what I'm talking about with this needless shit. And yet people are complaining about locality prices.
I want to touch on. You done reading? Kind of like we don't know yet what all these genes are going to do once combined. And what I mean by that is we know if we breed this to this, we'll get this color or that. But we don't know what's going to happen with all these genes once they're put together. I'm not talking about colors. I'm not talking about patterns. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we may have a lot of shit that's fucked up. I mean, that's a true possibility. And I don't think anybody thinks about that.
Let's go with the high contrast animals, ones that wouldn't survive in the wild in large populations. We're talking about an animal that supposedly can get 40 years old, consistently over 20 in the wild. There's many captive animals in Europe, in Indonesia, and the US that are over 20 years old that are not morphs. We haven't had morphs other than the tiger since the year 2000 when albino came in. We're pretty much when all the rest of the morph centers at 15 years and younger. 15, 16 years and younger. We're in 2022. So I'll go 16, 17 years and younger. How many morphs do you see hitting that mark right now? You don't.
If there's some out there, I mean, I'd love to see them.
Yeah.
I'd love to know about them because that's awesome. I think most people that love these animals, that love reticular potens would love to know what animals are out there like that.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about it is people are saying I have an old retic. It's 10 years old. No, you don't. I have an old retic. It's 23 years old because I know consistently on average they can live to 25 to 27 years old, and that's very old. But there's been reports that they can live close to 40. So an old retic isn't 10 years old. That's middle age. You should be able to get it to an adulthood. Genetic mutations anywhere in the wild shorten lifespan, period. And that's in the wild, mainly from predation. But albinism gene in every animal causes a lot of defects, no matter what. And even in fish, birds, wherever. We don't know the full spectrum of what leucism, albinism, hypomelanistic, all this can do. We have not seen if they can live to their full potential. We know that super forms of morphs, there's a lot of deadly ones out there. Are there some that live great? Absolutely, but that's a genetic oddity. On most occasions, super forms of certain mutations die. They're lethal. But nobody puts this into consideration. Genetics are very, very fragile. But just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean you should.
I want to know, I'd like to hear like some of the guests that we have on here, people that are watching, and like the beginning of the show, we're talking about like Sulas and other localities that we have here in the United States. What do you think? What do y'all think that these animals are worth? I mean, I personally, some of these animals I think are almost priceless. Knowing that we cannot get any new blood here legally. How about legally, people? I'm sure that I know there's other ways to get these shits.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go grab my charger. My phone's dying.
But the fact that people can think whatever they want to think, whatever, do whatever you want to do. Nobody, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind about anything. It's just a different perspective, a different way to look at things is what I'm getting at. Like the animals that Blake Graves and I have Sula wise here in Texas. Uh, the animals that we breed in the future, they're not going to be cheap if anybody wants one. And then on top of that, we will screen the shit out of you. Because in our opinion, especially my opinion, these animals are rare. Once again, they're rare because there's two people here in the United States that basically have the only true wild caught animals, and that's it. So whatever they produce, if they want to produce, they see what's going on and they don't particularly like what they see, and I don't blame them. But that's why I feel like or the whole thing about like these animals and stuff like that. Y'all ain't stupid. This is coming from nerds putting a price on a male Sula like $6,000 or some shit, and people are like, "Oh, there's no way," blah blah blah. Yeah, well, it's nerds, Kevin. No disrespect or anything like that, but they gonna put a high price on anything, pretty much. But I don't. Once again, you compare like some people will say like a world's first is rare. Well, it is by all means for now, but we all know what happens when we're talking about morphs. People eat that shit up. People will get hits. People will get visuals, and they'll breed them. And once they get of age, then you have more shit and more shit and more shit. Now that world's first is no longer a world's first; it's something else and everything like that, and it's just gone to shit because it's like the attention span that people have. There's so much untapped shit. Like Chip and I talk about this all the time. We have so many different mutations that are untapped because we are just trying to make that one thing, the newest thing. And then once that's done, we go to the next big thing, so on and so forth. And so yes, that mutation, you can say that it's extremely rare. Okay, at that given point in time, yes, but the pure locality animals that we have here in the United States is rare as fuck, and that's why they're worth more than just money. If you have a true passion for these animals and everything, like a lot of people say you do, and everything like that, that you would think that would be important.
Well,
I mean, it makes sense to me, but that's fucking me.
To answer the one guy's question here, Bob's albino death was estimated between 25 and 28 years old. The original wild caught albino retic. And that was a really hardy animal. And we did a whole thing with Bob. And I talk about that with him. So you can go back and watch that episode. But what Chris is saying, all the retics in 20 years might be rare because all these genetics might be killing everything. And everything might be dying off really quickly. We know for a fact that your localities will live very long time. But we only have a limited amount here, so they will be gone too. unless you inbreed them. And inbreeding them will cause that same issue. You're going to die. I ask, in my personal opinion, with all the wild caughts that are out there, without inbreeding, there will be no pure blood within 10 to 15 years. After inbreeding, we will have no localities in 15 to 20 years if the inbreeding happens. And then retics altogether, 35 years in this country, and all the genetic bottlenecking. You're going to have a few people here and there and whatnot, but they're going to be dying right and left. I mean, you're not going to have a retic that at some point that's going to live over 5 to 10 years old. And that's going to be the end of it. Europe, Asia, South America, Canada, whatever, will still have new blood coming in. But as far as the U.S., and I'm not talking illegal activity right now, I'm just talking if there was nothing coming in, the lifespans are going to dramatically shorten from mutations and genetic inbreeding. And that's just the plain facts of it.
And what the hell I was going to say, we're not trying to scare anybody by all means, especially like new people who are possibly watching this or will watch this. This isn't scare tactics or anything. These are opinions and stuff like that, and it could possibly happen. You know, very, we're not talking about what did you say earlier? Like earlier in this show at the very beginning, you were talking about it's genetics that we're talking about. Okay. And I know, once again, y'all have to understand, I ain't shit. I don't think I'm shit. Chip is shit by all means, but I'm no expert. I don't think I'm an expert. I ain't nobody. Chip probably feels the same way.
I don't care if people like me. I don't really care. I'm not.
No, but no, what I'm getting at is that the time that we've been in doing this, we have seen all kinds of things happen. We knew for a fact because we've done it. And I'm not talking about me or you. We as a hobby have done it. You put this animal with this animal and you get this. We knew that because we've done it. It came out of the fucking egg. How many times have we seen things happen that we can't explain? But we knew for a fact that this and this will make this. And what I'm trying to get at is that, especially when it comes with reptiles, anything can happen. We've seen so much shit happen from the very fucking beginning till now. So, there's no telling what's going to happen in the future.
Hey, Chris, I'm not acknowledging that, and neither's James, so don't worry about that. That's going to get passed. I think that's something that I won't even need to speak about on camera. So, that just goes back to the people that follow these jackasses. There's one person that I watch just because I want to hear how asinine is. And I do educate people on the side. And so I do see certain videos. I don't need to comment on them. There's no point. These people aren't going to change their minds. They aren't going to listen to reason. They have money. They have following. But there's one that this person introduces himself the same way every single time. And every time I hear it, I've told James this. I've told a few other people this, but all I think about is, hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass. Because this guy is a jackass.
Here we go.
He literally doesn't know shit. And he hasn't been in the game that long. But he acts like he has a facility. He acts like he knows his animals. He tries to give husbandry advice and this, that, and the other. And it's terrible. All of it is terrible. His handling is terrible. But people don't know this. People eat it up. and people believe everything. And just because you have a business name doesn't mean you have an ounce of knowledge about these animals. And it drives me up the wall, and I complain all the time that, you know, you got so many ignorant people in the retic world giving educational advice and people buying it up. And we're going to move on here in a second to another subject that James wanted to talk about.
I want to just say, like, I guess to touch on what you're talking about, like, you know, people, you can have a great backdrop, you can have lights, nice cameras, and all this shit, and you can know how to possibly say certain things in certain ways that make people think that you're something that you're not. And I'm saying, the reason why I say that is because these people, like, I don't claim to fucking be anybody or know anything, but some of these people that are these experts, you know, they're the greatest thing that ever happened to the fucking hobby. I hope to God they don't ever deal with a true wild caught animal, because the way they act around these captive bred animals, it's just it's mind blowing, especially captive bred animal that's being defensive or maybe is showing a little aggression. You know, they can't figure that shit out.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. The Johnny Knoxville, who I'm not going to name the name of the person, but the Johnny Knoxville who I'm talking about got his hands on one and two. And the way he handles it is absolutely horrific. He is scared of his animal. He doesn't know what he's doing. And for people that have not dealt with retics that are really defensive and really scared, they see that as, oh, that's the way I should handle my animal. And it's not. It's horrible to handle. That animal will never calm down. That animal will just get worse and more defensive and be stressed out its entire life from the way this guy handles it.
I have some F1s in my building right now. If you don't know what you're doing, they will back your ass up in a corner. If you don't know what you're doing, if you know what you're doing, if you're calm, you know how to read your animal, you know what you're doing, you're confident in yourself, you can take that same animal and handle it, take it wherever you need it to go, do what you need to do with it. I say that because I bring one of those people over here and we're like, here you go, do your thing. And some of the animals that I have in my building are going to make them look like a fucking fool. But they're the ones that we should all listen to. Oh, well.
Well, going off that, just touching a little bit more, because we're going to end this video soon, because my phone is overheating, because even though it's plugged in, I'm in an 85-degree room, and my phone does not like it, no matter what. But I just want to touch somebody. If you hear somebody that's got a nickname of a locality, they act like an expert, I promise you they're not. I promise you they're not. I promise you that they don't have nearly the experience or knowledge, because they spew bullshit constantly and they think something's worthless when it's not. These animals need to be cherished and taken care of. They need to have a super high price tag on it, more than any morphs. We're not going to get them again. You can recreate morphs. There's enough out there that with every single thing that's out, go down the morph market list. Most people have the genetics in their home right now to recreate any morph they want. You're not going to do that with wild caught F1s. And these localities, once they're gone, they're gone. So the price tag should be super high because we want responsible people that own them, ones that aren't going to kill them or breed them to death. And these animals are worth every penny of a high price tag. You want to sell them more for 10,000? That locality's 15. $5,000. There's multiple people that'll pay $5,000 for a 9 gene more because they have genetic potential. So when you have $5,000 to $6,000 for something that is extremely rare and you can never get again in this country, and if you think that price tag's too high, you're in this hobby for the wrong reason and you have animals for the wrong reason. And I don't want to hear about it because if you can afford the morph but not the locality, then you don't deserve the locality and you don't deserve to have snakes, in my opinion, because you don't care about the animal, you don't care about the genetics, you care about making a buck. And that's all I have to say about that.
What the fuck else we were going to touch on?
Oh, how people think dwarfs are only stay small and that they're a safer alternative.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So what was it last week? The video that I did last week, I had Lucas on, and I think it was a pretty good video and everything. And I had him on, and we talked about localities and whatnot, and him being mainly in the dealing with dwarf localities and whatnot. I asked that question because we have people that I really respect, and it kind of blows my mind. It kind of irritates me, but it is what it is. People can do whatever the fuck they want to. I say that all the time. But they'll literally say that a dwarf is a safer alternative to a mainland. And I don't get that because true dwarfs can still get up to what, 12 foot, 14 foot. We've even seen in the past some even get even bigger. But on the most part, the dwarfs that we deal with that are not crossing anything else, they can get up to 12 foot, sometimes even 14 foot. And I don't like to be on here talking about death and shit like that. But that's basically what you're saying. If you basically say that, here, buy my dwarf because it's not going to get as big as a mainland, you're safer. You fucking telling me that a 12, 14 foot animal can't fucking kill somebody? Or you're just telling me that they can kill you, but you'll be deader if you fuck around with a mainland? Doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't get that. That's that whole thing about, I guess, your integrity and being truthful about shit. Years ago, when I was dealing with the dwarf animals that I dealt with, I can only speak about my experience and what I know. And what the fuck did I tell you? What did I tell you? My knowledge is outdated. That's what I say. Because the dwarf shit that we were getting in, they didn't have a locality. Whether they fucking knew or whatever the case, we didn't know what localities they were. I know the SD shit that I had stayed fucking small. Was it because they were stunted or whatever? I don't fucking know. We didn't know a whole lot of shit back then, And now we know localities of these animals and everything. And we have seen these dwarf localities. I mean, there's proven, there's fucking documentation of how big they get. Are they smaller than a lot of the mainland shit? Yeah. But that doesn't make them a safer fucking alternative, because you get one of these new people that don't know what the fuck they're doing, they can get hurt or God forbid, something worse happen, with a 12, 14 foot snake, you know, just like they could with a fucking 15, 16, 17 foot snake. I don't get that. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, this whole dwarf and super dwarf name that has stuck around forever, it's always drive me nuts. I'm a science freak. I went to school. I hate those names because that's not what they are. They're not dwarfs. They're not super dwarfs. They're genetically secluded, smaller versions and different species of reticulated pythons. But it's all psychological. That's the selling point. And here comes another movie quote for all you newbies. Jaws 1. Mayor walks up, says to Chief Brody after the first shark attack, hey, you say barracuda, everybody says, huh? What? You say shark, you gotta panic. It's the same thing. You say dwarf, nobody thinks anything. You say mainland, everybody goes, holy shit. Same thing. It's all psychological. Snakes still get that big. For the big main ones that everybody calls Solaire, Jampea, Calatoa, animals have been found on that island. Animals have been kept in captivity. Animals have been wild caught and grown up in captivity that have exceeded 17 feet long from all three of those places. Is it common? No, but if the genetic potential was on those islands from wild caught animals, what makes you think that that's not going to happen anywhere else? They have the genetic potential. This whole thing is that they don't get that big. Calato is a super dwarf island. Solaire is a dwarf island. Jampea is a dwarf island. Jampea is tiny, but Jampea is desolate. There's not that many animals on there. Solaire is right next to Sulawesi. You don't think snakes can't swim back and forth and intermix genetics? It's like, come on. The potential is there for a big animal. On average, they don't get that big, but they still can happen. How do you think they got small? They got secluded. They got limited food supply. Evolution took over. Adaptation took over. Boom. They got smaller. Can you reverse that? Probably, especially in captivity.
You know, Jim Gaspar, one of the best men that I ever was blessed to know. He had, how big was his fucking? He had like he had a fucking big. I mean, a fucking huge Jampea, huge, and that just blew my mind because we had Jamps and they got fed what we considered a proper size meal weekly, which we fed rabbits. You know, they got rabbits. We fed them the Jamps just like we did our mainland shit.
Hey, hold on. Yeah. And hey, guys, I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, you bet. Now you gone, bitch. Oh, he gone. Our Jamps that we had were no bigger than 12, 13 foot. And they were fed properly. Anybody who's ever dealt with I don't know if new Jamps are different. I don't fucking know. Like I said, man, a lot of my knowledge is fucking outdated. The Jamps that we dealt with, and I think most people back in the day that dealt with that locality, they were always hungry. They were always looking for food. It didn't make you. I mean, you could feed the shit out of them. There was no reason for them to be fucking hungry or want food, but them motherfuckers were always looking for food. And I'm saying all this because I can only speak from my experience. But then Jim had huge fucking Jampeas. They were fat as fuck because he fed the shit out of them by all means, but they were fucking big, you know? And then my experience with them, they didn't get no bigger than 12, 13 foot. And they were fed. We weren't putting them on a maintenance diet or anything like that. So who fucking knows? All right, shit. Where the fuck he at? Fucking embarrassing. Nobody can hear what the fuck you're saying. Y'all talk shit about what? What? Quit talking bad about people. What did you? Nobody can hear you, man. What, bitch? Push the button. Nod your head if you can hear me. Okay, well, ain't nobody can hear you. Thank you, Chris. Chris says now you suck. This is ridiculous. 2022 and you can't get your shit to work right. Is it on mute? Chris said to unmute your shit. I don't see your mic here is not.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, here we go. This is some bullshit.
I had a work phone call. Calm down.
Man, people are gonna think that this is some low grade shit. Well, it is.
Well, that's because you're from Texas.
Holy shit! Here we go.
Anyway, Gaspar's was 18 foot. I agree with what you're saying. We do have to kind of wrap up our talking points because now I have to 34 skidoo. So, James, what talking points do you want to finish on? We are at about an hour and a half.
Well, I mean, I guess we touch the talking points. At the end of the day, if you're going to be in this hobby, my opinion is be responsible, do things for the right reason. With anything you do in life, especially with these animals, you need to be respectful and responsible, and do things for the right fucking reason. Can you make money? By all means, do whatever you're going to do. Whatever you want to do, anyhow. But when it comes to certain localities and stuff like that, I mean, my opinion is that they're very precious. They're precious to me because of the passion that I have for these animals and knowing that basically what we have here in the United States is what we have. That being said, thank you. We appreciate everybody that comes on here. We appreciate everybody that watches. So once again, please subscribe if you haven't. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share.
Yeah, share this. Everybody that's watching, share it. Share it to anybody. Share it to another page. Share it to wherever you want.
Yeah, share it with the groups that you're in. It doesn't matter that we're all in the same group. It doesn't matter. Share it. US Arc, once again, please, if you're not a member, become a member. Donate. Do whatever you can to help out. They're the only ones that are fighting for our rights. You have anything to add, Chris? Chip? You're not Chris, you're Chip.
Just remember, guys, don't believe everything you see on face value. If Retic guys have a ton of likes, doesn't mean they know everything. If they're trying to promote a lot of BS, if they're talking about how great they are and everything else, just do your own research. It's not that hard. It doesn't take that much time. And if you genuinely care about this hobby and the animals, you will do your due diligence in finding out what's right. And I am for everybody that we are at risk of losing our rights because of irresponsibility and people that don't care. And that's including in our own Retic community. Please support USR. Please stand up for what's right, and please be responsible and care about these animals like you care about common pets, cats and dogs. I urge you. It will help everybody out, including the animals, in the long run. Otherwise, it's all going to be gone.
Well, that being said, thanks, everybody. Everybody have a good evening and everything. And we have had Chris on, and that's a great idea. We should have Chris back on again.
No tattooed people.
Talk about some other shit. Huh?
Awesome.
Okay. But anyhow, all right, we're gone. Everybody have a great evening, man. Talk to y'all later.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.